Hi everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. Today I am reading part 2 that I promised you, The Lighthouse Keeper's Cat. And it's written by Rhonda and David Armitage and illustrated by them as well. Let's see, can you remember his name? Hamish the cat is going to get up to in this story. The Lighthouse Keeper story was published over 30 years ago, and this classic series has been loved by children ever since. We did love the last story, right? Hamish, the Lighthouse Keeper's cat, has become so contented. Contented is when you are super happy and you don't need anything else, and well fed, that he isn't catching any mice. Oh, that's a problem in a lighthouse because you do get mice. So when he hears that Mr. and Mrs. Grinling are going to put him on a diet, he decides to find somewhere else to live. Soon though, Hamish realises that there's no place like home. I agree. I can go anywhere, but I love to come home. Let's have a look at this book. Hamish lived with Mr. and Mrs. Grinling in the little white cottage on the cliffs. Mr. Grinling was the lighthouse keeper. He's also the barbecue chef. Oh, Hamish is very excited to be having lunch by the looks of that picture. Some days, Hamish went to work with Mr. Grinling. He liked to help in the lighthouse. So he's gotten used to going on the boat across. When visitors came, Hamish would show them around. "What a magnificent cat," they would exclaim. "Hamish, king of the lighthouse." There he is, rowing over in the boat, helping to polish the lights, tapping Mr. Grinling to wake him up, and looking out to sea for Mr. Grinling. He is a good cat. Some days, Hamish worked with Mrs. Grinling. He liked to dig in the garden where she planted the seeds. He also liked to help with the cooking. "Fish with everything" was Hamish's motto. "Not in chocolate cake," said Mrs. Grinling firmly. Yeah, I don't think I want fish in my chocolate cake. How about you? A lot of the time, Hamish liked to sleep. Yeah, that's pretty much a cat's life, isn't it? One night, when he was curled up in his favourite place, he heard Mr. and Mrs. Grinling talking. There's lunch, breakfast. Oh boy, he has a very big menu. He gets very well looked after, doesn't he? There they were there again today, said Mr. Grinling, scampering and squeaking. "The inspector of Lighthouse is coming next week, and he says mice might eat the wiring." Oh no. If mice eat through the wiring, the electrical wiring, what do you think will happen? The light will go out in the lighthouse, and is that important when ships are going past? You betcha. Oh dear. "What about Hamish?" asked Mrs. Grinling. "He might catch them for you." Mr. Grinling chuckled. "Our Hamish chase mice? Really? Mrs. G, he's much too plump and well fed. He might be persuaded if he wasn't quite so well fed," said Mrs. Grinling. Look at Hamish's worried face. "He might chase mice if he didn't have any breakfast before he went to the lighthouse." Oh no, I don't think Hamish likes this plan either. Mrs. Grinling does not have good plans for the cat, does she? "You mean starve him?" whispered Mr. Grinling. "Shh," said Mrs. Grinling. "He'll be upset if he hears you. Too late." Hamish was upset, very upset. "No breakfast," she'd said. "Starve him," she'd said. Well, my quivering ginger whiskers, he thought. We'll see about that. Nobody starves the lighthouse cat. If they don't love me anymore, I'll go somewhere else to live. Early next morning, Hamish left home. Oh, I don't know that that's a good way to solve your problems. As he made his way to the village, he met all kinds of strange creatures. Remember, I don't think he's been very far from the lighthouse before. He knows what fish and seagulls are. Some wanted to chase him and some wanted to play. So he meets the cow, moo. Then along the road he meets a forest or a tunnel where it's dark. And then can't help himself, he's chasing a rabbit. And then, he's a little bit thirsty. He stops and has a drink. Sees some swans on the lake. Oh, and now there's a dog chasing him. Oh, that wasn't a very good plan. Now he's having a little cat nap. Now he's caught in a storm. And, now the bike's chasing him. And, shark's fin soup. He's thinking about Miss Grinling's cooking because he's starting to get a little bit hungry. And, look, Mum, called the little boy, there's an enormous cat at our door. I think he's hungry. Can we feed him? A spot of breakfast, I think. Oh, maybe he's hit the jackpot after all. He was delighted when he smelt our house. Fish, sniffed Hamish. Probably shark. Hamish liked the breakfast they gave him. He liked the big children. They'd played hide and seek and chased the mouse with him. He didn't like the baby. It rolled on him and squashed his ears. Not bad though, thought Hamish as he jumped up to sleep beside the stove. I like this house. I think I'll stay. What's this? Exclaimed the mother. A cat who jumps on benches? A scavenging cat? Not in this house. Scat, cat, she said. Out you go. And she shut the door behind him. Well, my quivering ginger whiskers, thought Hamish. We'll see about that. Nobody shouts at this lighthouse cat. And he stalked off down the road. Does not look very happy. A tabby kitten dropped on him from a tree. Play with me and you can share my dinner. Hamish liked the dinner so much that he forgot to share. The kitten swung on his tail. Play with me and you can sleep in my bed. This is sounding like a good plan. Hamish slept in the bed, but he was so large there was no room for the kitten. Who's your ginger friend? Asked the old man. The kitten hissed at Hamish. He wasn't a friend. He didn't share with me. Do you think he's going to get kicked out again? I think so. But Hamish wanted to stay. He liked the dinner and he liked the bed. I'll show them how clever I am, he thought. I'll make them look at me. So he's singing, he's smiling, he's doing tricks. Do you think it's going to work? But the old man and the kitten took no notice. They snored and purred together. Well, my quivering ginger whiskers, Hamish glared. We'll see about that. Nobody ignores the lighthouse cat. Has anybody noticed that there's some rhyming going on with this cat? What a great cat to rhyme all the time. Because it's not a crime. But he didn't stay grumpy for long. The sun warmed his orange whiskers and the smell of warm mouse tickled his nose. Oh, is he doing what I think he's doing? Is he gonna chase a mouse? It was nearly dark when Hamish found the yard. He looked around. This is no place for a lighthouse cat. Probably mice, possibly rats, maybe cats. They were not pleased to see Hamish. Who invited you? Snarled a tattered grey cat. Because stray cats are very territorial, aren't they? They're a bit like a gang, and there's a leader in the gang. This is our place. We don't like strangers, hissed the one-eyed black. Skedaddle, mush, beat it. You don't belong here. Oh, if I was Hamish, I'd be a little bit frightened about now. Especially coming from the lovely Grinling's house. Hamish skedaddled right to the top of the tallest tree. Well, my quivering ginger whiskers, he puffed. We'll see about that. Nobody snarls at the lighthouse cat. He peered over the branches. The cat's eyes gleamed below. Perhaps I'll just stay here for a while, thought Hamish. Yeah, I would be too, Hamish. Those cat's eyes look a bit scary. The lights of the village blinked around him. Far away another light flashed. Hamish sat up. My lighthouse! He thought about Mr. and Mrs. Grinling. He thought about the little white cottage. The leaves of the trees rustled and the tree began to sway. It's time to go home, thought Hamish. He looked down the tree again. It was too dark to see the ground anymore. I don't like going down, thought Hamish. I can't go down. Oh, but I want to go home. Poor Hamish. He yelled and yowled, but nobody heard him. Then thunder rumbled and the rain poured down. He yowled again, but still nobody heard him. After a while the rain stopped and a soggy, sad ginger cat went to sleep. Nothing worse than feeling like there's nobody out there to save you. Mrs. Grinling heard the thunder too. Oh, my poor Hamish, she cried to Mr. Grinling. Where is he? He'll be so frightened. There, my dear, soothed Mr. Grinling. You know our Hamish. He's a clever cat. He'll be snug and warm or I'll eat my hat. Another rhyme. Next morning Mrs. Grinling was up very early. There was still no sign of Hamish. I'm going out to search for him, she said to Mr. Grinling. He might be hurt. Before she left, she did some cooking. Then she set off to the village on her bike. Oh, she's going to go all over the village. Look at that map. I wonder if you can see... Oh, I think I see what looks a little bit like a castle. Can you see that? This is an English book, and in England they sometimes have castles in their villages. Before, round and round and up and down she cycled. Every now and then she would stop and take something out of the basket. What do you think she's taking out of the basket? I think she might be leaving a trail for Hamish, or some delicious food to show him where she is. 3 seagulls arrived at a very tall tree near the village. They flew round it, squawking. What a caterwauling, exclaimed Mrs. Grinling. What have they seen in that tree? Caterwauling is a very loud noise. 3 seagulls woke Hamish with their noise. He meowed. Hamish, called Mrs. Grinling. He looked down, his whiskers quivered. I know that smell. His nose nearly fell off his face. It was his favourite dinner, stargazy pie. Mrs. Grinling had cooked it specially. They weren't going to starve him after all. He meowed and meowed. You foolish cat, said Mrs. Grinling fondly. I'll come up and get you. She put the stargazy pie in the basket and climbed to the top of the tree. Oh, she's a very good mum, isn't she? He's very lucky to have a mum like that. Hamish was so excited that he fell onto the pie. Mrs. Grinling lowered the basket to the ground. He's going to sit on top of what he's going to eat. I don't know that I've ever done that. Mr. Grinling was delighted to see Hamish home again. Just in time too, he said. Please, Hamish, I need your help. If Mrs. Grinling cooks you another stargazy pie, could you persuade the mice to find a new home? Hamish meowed. Next morning, Hamish and Mr. Grinling rode out to the lighthouse. While Mr. Grinling worked, Hamish visited the mice. He's going to have a little chat to them, do you think? Because I don't know that he likes to eat the mice particularly, only when he's a starving cat in the middle of nowhere. When the inspector of lighthouses visited, there were no mice scampering or squeaking. Mr. Grinling was very happy. He patted Hamish fondly. A great mouse chaser, he said. The mice were happy too. They nibbled some crumbs and tried not to squeak. Hamish was very happy. He stretched out beside the stove. Well, my quivering ginger whiskers, he thought. He's right about that. I'm the cleverest. I'm the greatest. I'm the lighthouse keeper's cat. Can you figure out what he did? Because he didn't eat the mice, did he? He bribed them, just like Mr. Grinling said, if you go out and talk to those mice, you'll get another stargazy pie. He went to the mice and said, you can have all the crumbs of the stargazy pie if you hide and don't squeak when the lighthouse keeper comes. And eat the crumbs, not the wiring, right? Oh, what a great story, and what a great ending, because the happiest place to be is home, right? Thank you for joining me on Carmen's Australian Storytime, and I look forward to reading to you again soon from somewhere else this time. Bye for now. Oh, and don't forget to click and subscribe.